Hey, Heather here. So today we are going to be coloring this super cute Magnolia image called Tilda with Wrapped Heart. Isn't she cute? I love her little short flipped up hair. I will put a link down in the description box to all the supplies I use and to the card kit if you would like to come over to the store and check that out. I would love for you to come shopping with me. There's also tons of other stuff besides cards kits, so make sure to check that out. If you have a question, always leave me a comment in the comments and I will get back to you. And I would love it if you could hit the like button and share the video with others so they know about my channel. So I have already stamped my image on Nina 80-pound Solar White cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Back ink. So let's color. For the outline today, we are going to use C1, C0, B, quadruple 0 in our colorless blender. And I'm going to start with C1 and we're going to add where we want to have a little bit of darker shadows. So since her head's tipped this way, I'm going to say this side is going to be in more of a shadow. But she's got a little swirl in her hair right here, so I'm going to add a little bit of my C1 right here. And then maybe a little bit underneath this hair and down her arm a little bit. And then underneath of her arm, of course. And down her leg a little bit. And underneath, in between the split of her leg, I'm going to add a little dab. And I'm going to add a little bit over here where her skirt is. And again, underneath this ruffle, anything that seems like it maybe would be in a darker area. And I'm going to do just a little dab right here in the crook of her neck. And then I'm going to skip to C0, and I'm going to go all the way around my girl. So I'm just going to pick a spot down here at the bottom of her shoes. And you could make your line as thick or as skinny as you would like. I'm just going to go all the way around. And if you get some on her hair, it's not going to be a tragedy because we are going to color her hair brown. So you'll just cover that right up. And I just want to work my way back around to the other side. And then I also want to do in between her legs here. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill that in. Next I'm going to grab my B quadruple 0 and I want to go over that color that I just laid down. So I'm going to go past into my white. I want it to extend past the gray and come out here into the outside a little bit more. And I'm not being too tidy with it, I'm just quickly going around. And then I'm going to take my colorless blender and just lay it down on top of her and just flick out past all the colors. Just to kind of smush them all together. And soften the edges. For the ground, I'm going to use W4, W2, and W00. I'm going to start with my W4. And I'm just going to use the edge of her sole. Just add a little bit. Okay. I'm going to grab W2 next. And then W00. I didn't give it too much of a shadow around her, just a little bit. But you can make yours as wide or as skinny as you want. And then I'm going to go back with my W4 and add in my darkest shadows again. For her skin today, I'm going to use E11, E21, E00, E000, and E000. And for cheeks, I'm only going to use R20. So let's start down here on her legs first and start with E11. So I'm going to go right next to her skirt. And then I'm going to go down the inside of her leg and a little bit onto her sock, or above her sock. And then she's got a little bump on her knee, right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring this clear around. And then for this side, again, I'm going to go underneath of her skirt and down the inside of her leg and out here under her sock a little bit. And then she's got this great little knee again, so I'm going to go ahead and extend from the edge over here just out to the side. Then I'm going to go with E21. We're just going to brush a little bit of that on the edge, soften that up a little bit. And then E00. It's such a small area, I'm going to go ahead and fill the rest of it in with this. Go over it again. Here's got some little lines there still I didn't like. Okay, I'm going to leave that. And let's hop up here and do her arm, or her hands. So again, I'm going to grab E11. Let's go along the bottom and around this thumb, and I also want to do a little bit on her thumb. And then over here, let's do around the bottom of her hand. And then E21. And E00. Fill this in over here. There's not too much left over there. And we'll add a little bit over here. And then over here, I still got a little bit of white, so I'm going to take my E000 and fill that in. Then we'll move up here to her face and her neck. So again, I'm going to grab E11, and I'm going to go underneath of her chin. And then I want to go up here where her bangs are. And because her face is tipped down on this side, I'm going to bring this color around over here where it comes to her cheek. Next, I'm going to go with E21, and I want to soften that line. So I'm going to go right along that edge and just feather a little bit of color on. But I want this color to come down this side of her face and attach over here. Next we're going to go, oh whoops, I should take my E21 down here on her neck too, sorry. Next we're going to do E00, and I'm going to fill in her neck area. And then we're going to use this color just to brush a little bit on here. Oops. Next I'm going to grab E000. And then my E000 just to fill it all the way in. I'm going to grab grab our 20 and give her some cheek color. And then I like to go with my E21 and just add a little bit. I go back over with my colors for my face here just to soften up the edges just a little bit. And this is E00. And then E000. And then E_0 over the entire area. For her hair, let's use E29, E25, E35, E71, and E51. So I'm going to start with my E29. And let's go up here just behind her barrette. She's got a little bit of a her hair showing, so I'm going to add a little bit of that into the roots there. And then we want to add somewhere it's touching her bow. Like that. And then let's do a little bit down here at the bottom of her bangs. And let's see here, this part kind of curls up around over here, so I'm going to make that a little bit longer. And then it's touching her face, so I'm going to go a little bit right where it's coming away from her face. And then maybe a few little streaks over here on this side, where it's tucking away from her face. Next, I'm going to grab E25. So I'm going to go up here and add a little bit up here, fill in that one little section there. And then I just want to continue around by adding some more color on. Next, I'm going to grab E35, and again, I'm going to start up here at the top and just work my way around. And I think I'll add a little bit of this up here where this little cute, her hair's kind of tipped up a little bit. Maybe a little bit on this side. Next I'm going to grab E71. I'm just giving her a variety of little colors in here. And then I'm going to fill it all the way in with my E51. And you could leave some white in there too if you like that. I just can never make it look perfect for me, so I always just fill it the rest of the way in. Now I'm going to go back with my darkest color, which was E29, and just add a few of my little streaks back in. For her shirt, let's use W4, W2, W00 and our colorless blender. I'm going to start with W4, and let's go and add some shadows down here. She's got a little bit of her shirt showing right next to this heart. I'm going to run my pin up, and then she's got a little crease in her shirt, so I'm going to dip in there. And then where her shoulder strap from her dress is touching it, I want to add a little bit of shadow. And then over here where it's cucking out and coming away from her strap, same for this side. And then we're going to do under her hair and down the inside of her sleeve. And let's do a little bit over here where this heart is kind of touching her hand. And I'm going to do a little dab underneath of her hand on this little ruffle. And let's do a little dab right here where it's kind of bunched up. Oh, and down here it's showing underneath of her slip too. So let's go ahead. I'm going to add a little bit of my color in between each of these little bump ups. Next I'm going to go with W2. So I'm going to fill in this outside section right there. And then I just want to touch down on top of that last color and just soften the edges a little bit. Just soften those just a tad. I'm going to grab W00 next, and I'm just going to go over that previous color, because again I just want to soften that edge. And then I'm going to take my colorless blender and just go over that little gray, all the little gray areas, so that I can kind of smush the colors together. For her socks, let's use C1, C0, and B quadruple 0. I'm going to start with C1, and I want to add some little shadows in. So let's go right up here and down each of these cute little creases. Then I'll grab C0. You want to go over that last color, soften the edge. And then I'm going to just go over the entire sock with B quadruple 0. For her boots, let's use E74, E71, E70, and E40. So I'm going to start with E74, and let's add where we want to have some shadows. So let's go right down the edge, and she's got some great little shadow lines already on her boots for us, so I'm just going to exaggerate those. And come down this side, same thing. There's a couple little shadow lines already on there for me. And then where her boot tucks up, I want to go behind that. Let's do this side. and down this side. Next we're going to grab 71. I just want to soften those edges. And then E70. Get in between these shoestrings there. And then E40 over the entire area. And I think I'll go over them one more time. So let's grab E74. Darken them up just a little bit. E71. E70. And then E40 over the entire shoe again. Then I'm going to use E40 down here just to color in the sole of her boot. Let's hop over here and color the heart next. For that, we're going to use E44, E40, and W00. So I'm going to start with my E44 and add in some shadows. So let's go up here and add a little bit underneath the bow and down the side of the bow. And then there's a little bit of a crack right here, so I'm going to add a little bit in there. And then I want to go underneath this part of the bow. And then I want to exaggerate each of these little cracks a little bit. And then just got some kind of little patch on her heart. So I'm going to go around the edges of the patch. And down next to this ribbon too. And then over here for this patch I'm going to add a little bit. And then I'm going to go with E40 to soften the edge of that 44. And then W00 just to fill it in. So I'm going to go over the entire heart. Just blend it in a little bit. Like that. I'm actually thinking that I didn't use E44 on there. Maybe I used E43 or E42. But that's alright. We'll leave it like that. And let's go with a... what other color did I bring? Let's add a little bit of our W2 on there just to soften the edge of that E44 a little bit more. And then I'll go over it with my E40 again. See how that goes. Okay, I like that. That's better. And then I'm going to use B00 to color this tape right here. Just going to color it in. So that leaves us with her dress, her hair bow, and the wrapper on her heart. And for that, we're going to use R83, R81, YR65, and YR61. And I picked these colors because I was trying to kind of get a reddish-orange color to match this little button paper right here. So we're going to use R83 and R81 first. So let's start up here, and let's do R83 first with our color. I'm just going to go right over that, and then I just want to add where I want to have some shadows. And of course we got to get our bow here. And then I'm going to fill it in with R81. Then I took YR65, and where I put down the R83, I'm going to add this color on top. And then go over the whole thing with YR61. That way it has a little bit of pink still, but it also adds a little bit of that reddish orange to my color scheme to match my button there a little bit. Okay, that looks good. So let's go down here and do this little bow on our heart. So again, I'm going to grab R83 first. And add our shadows in. And then R81. And it's okay if you don't get the whole thing covered in, because when you go over the other colors, if you left some white, that's going to be fine. And this is YR65. And then YR61 to fill it in. Oops, I forgot this whole section of this bow right here. So we got R83, 81, YR65, and then 61 just to fill that in. I can't believe I missed that. Okay, and then for her dress, again, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to grab my R83 first and add where I want to add my shadows. So let's go up here and add some right along the top of that sleeve. And I'm going to go down the inside of this strap. And then for this one, I'm going to go along right here where her head's tipping and come down her strap again. And then let's do up here. She's got a few little wrinkles in her dress that I'm going to add some color to and exaggerate a little bit. And then let's go underneath that. And we're going to go down the side of her dress. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Let's go down the side of this side of her dress. And then I want to make some of these bumps. I want to exaggerate those. So let's do... Okay, and then R81 is next. Now I'm not going to color it all the way in. I'm going to wait until I add my yellow reds and then see if I want to go back over it. Okay, I like that. And then we're going to go with YR65. And then YR61. Okay, so now I'm going to take R81. I want to put some more pink down here. And then I'm going to take my YR61 and go over that again. Just to add a little bit more of my orange in. Like that. And then I think I'll take E40 to color these buttons. So there is our beautiful Tilda with wrapped heart all colored up. Doesn't she look pretty? And again, here is the finished card. And I went ahead and added some Sharpie white paint pen to her boot down here. She's got a few little dots on there. And then her cheeks. And then I put a couple of little stripes here on her straps just to give those a little bit of color. And then I added some Stickle Stardust to the cuffs of her shirt sleeves. And I put Wink of Stella clear glitter pen in her hair. This card is also a 5x5 card because I wanted to use this My Favorite Things Blueprints 14 die, and all this stuff you cut out with that die, so that worked out pretty good. So this would be the perfect card to just toss in the mail to a friend to say, I heart you. So I hope you had fun coloring with me today. Again, if you have a question, leave me a comment and I will get back to you. If you could also hit the like button, that would be super. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.